Hello and welcome to my first Minecraft Redstone video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my CPU and a little bit about each of the parts. I hope you enjoy. The first part of the computer I wanted to go over is the program counter. This is what lets our computer run through the different lines of code. The way it does this is by incrementing in binary by 1 every time it gets an input, and jumping to specific lines of code when it gets input over here. So let's look at that. When we get an input over here on the third bit, we'll see the third bit turns on regardless of where it is in the lines of code. Then, when we want to continue from that line, we can simply increment just like normal, and as you can see, it still adds by 1. But we aren't exactly adding by 1. We're taking advantage of a pattern over here, where this bit toggles every other time we get an input, this toggles every 2 times, every 4 times, and every 8 times. So instead of actually using an adder and adding by 1, we simply just use that pattern to make it very small and compact. The next part of the CPU is the encoder. The encoder takes input from the program controller and does 2 things with it. It first checks what number it is in binary, which would then activate one of these torches here. Then it would activate the corresponding repeaters over here to give the CPU something to do. For example, if we activate these 2 levers, we will be inputting 6. Then we see that this torch is activated because this is the 6th line of code, and we see it would give the computer 1010000. After the encoder, we have the decoder. The decoder takes output from the encoder and then tells the CPU what to do with it. For example, if the encoder gives us 5 in binary, it tells the CPU it has to do something with the 3rd register. Because this is only a chunk of my encoder, it's not going to tell it what to do with the 3rd register, but it just knows it has something to do with it. Speaking of registers, here is the register for the CPU. It has 2 main components, a locked repeater and a comparator. These serve as the read and write of the register. So the way this works is if we want to save a number, we'd input it over here. Then we'd flick this lever on and off. Now save it in these 2 locked repeaters. Then no matter what we do, no matter what numbers it gets, it's always going to save the number 3. Then when we want to share the number 3 with the rest of the computer, we flick this lever and now it's outputted. The final part of the computer is the ALU. This does all the calculations and does addition, subtraction, and bitwise operations, but I don't feel like explaining those right now. The lime wool is what controls how the ALU works and will come from the decoder over there. This register at the front and at the back to remember what it just added and what it's going to add. And finally, this red part over here connects back to the program counter for if and else statements saying if the number is too big or if the number is 0, this will turn on and that will jump to a certain number. Thank you for watching my video. I know there wasn't too much information about CPUs in general, but I hope you learned a little bit about how mine works in particular. See you next time.